Undrafted players tend to have a much harder time making it to the big leagues, and striving in the NBA is even more rare. However, throughout history, guys like Ben Wallace, Udonis Haslem, Bruce Bowen, and John Starks have all gone on to have brilliant NBA careers despite going undrafted. Not being picked as one of the top 60 on draft day does not mean that you can't make the league. Matter of fact, far from it. With many players throughout history proving initial doubters wrong before carving out an impressive NBA career and making millions. With that said, let's have a look at what actually happened to every undrafted starter-level player currently in the league, starting with the best current undrafted NBA player. Welcome to Sportsphere. Let's get into it. There shouldn't be a huge amount of argument at the moment for who the best undrafted player currently playing in the NBA is. That has to go to Rockets point guard Fred VanVleet. Born in Illinois, Fred was a 4-year player at Wichita State. The Shockers are not exactly known to produce a lot of NBA talent, so Fred was not very highly rated despite playing 3 years as a starter. And he would go undrafted in 2016 despite interest from a couple of teams who wanted him to play in the D-League. His big break came for the Toronto Raptors, who he originally signed to play for in the Summer League. Fred would slowly develop into one of the best scorers in terms of efficiency in the league, also being a part of the Raptors rotation that upset the Golden State Warriors in the 2019 NBA Finals. After Kawhi Leonard left Canada for the LA Clippers, Fred only saw his minutes and performances improving. In 2022, he became an All-Star for the first time, while averaging over 20 points per game. Having declined his player option with the Raptors, VanVleet signed a deal with the Houston Rockets last year. At just 6 foot tall, Fred was never likely to become an NBA superstar. But he was able to take advantage of the few opportunities in front of him, and will go down as one of the best undrafted players ever. He even holds the record for the most points in a single game by an undrafted player with 54. A brilliant scorer and distributor, specializing primarily with shooting, it would be fun to see VanVleet head to a contender in the next few years. What might surprise you is that VanVleet is not the only former Wichita State undrafted player now succeeding in the league. Lakers guard Austin Reaves has been a revelation over the last couple of years. He started his college career at Wichita State, where he played 2 seasons, one of which was ended by a dislocated shoulder. After his sophomore season, Reaves transferred to Oklahoma in the hopes of improving his draft stock. He was first-team All-Big 12 in 2021. But that still wasn't enough for Reaves to be drafted despite the Detroit Pistons having interest in picking him with the 42nd overall pick. He would eventually sign a 2-way contract with the Lakers and play for them in the Summer League. Most undrafted players take a few years to get into the rotation for an NBA team, but that wasn't really the case with Reaves. Despite the Lakers having a loaded roster, Reaves was still able to play in over 60 games in his rookie season. His sophomore year was an even better showing, with Reaves averaging 13 points per game while still shooting over 50% from the field, and continually rising to the occasion. The Lakers had struggled to get much help for LeBron and AD, but Reaves has actually been the third option for the Lakers for most of the last couple of years. He has some huge performances in that time as well, not unfamiliar to scoring in the clutch, also being a big influence on the Lakers' run to the 2023 Western Conference Finals, despite the Lakers getting swept by the later champions, the Denver Nuggets. Not to mention, this season, his career-high 7 3-pointers helped the Lakers beat the league-leading Boston Celtics. Still just 25 years old, Reaves signed a 4-year deal with the Lakers in the offseason that already looks like a steal. With the potential that this kid has, he could go on to become one of the best undrafted players in NBA history. If you were to show most people a picture of Alex Caruso, they probably wouldn't guess he was even an NBA player. Born in Texas, Caruso decided to stay in his home state for both high school and college, where he played 4 full years at Texas A&M and starting for the final 3 of those. He had some impressive numbers in limited minutes as an all-around guard who could pass and rebound as well as score, but it was his defense that was most impressive. That being said, his game on paper didn't stand out, and he soon went undrafted in 2016 alongside Fred VanVleet. He would briefly play for the Sixers in the 2016 Summer League before signing for the Oklahoma City Blue in the D-League. Caruso would get another opportunity to impress in 2017 when he signed for the Lakers for the Summer League, thanks in part to an injury to Lonzo Ball. Caruso played his way into a nice contract. Caruso was in and out of the Lakers' rotation through his first 2 seasons with the Lakers. But as LA became title contenders, his role only grew. He featured in every playoff game of the Lakers' run to the title in 2020, including starting the clinching game in the finals against the Miami Heat. His time with the Lakers saw Caruso gain respect among the league, soon being seen as a solid starter-level player in the league, also gaining the nickname the Bald Mamba. He became a free agent in 2021 and eventually signed with the Chicago Bulls. With Chicago, we have seen Caruso develop into the best version of himself. He was never going to be the most skillful or talented player on the court, but he has succeeded with brilliant effort on defense and a solid all-around game. In 2023, Caruso was named NBA All-Defensive First Team after a brilliant season with Chicago. While the Bulls aren't a great team, he is at least one of a select group of undrafted players who have gone on to become an NBA champion and a starter. So to go from barely making it in the development league to a solid starter and elite-level defender is highly impressive. The Oklahoma City Thunder have a brilliant recent track record with their draft picks, but they have also shown an ability to pick up undrafted talent, just like Lu Dort. The Canadian prospect played a single year at Arizona State and was named Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. Despite that, he still went undrafted in 2019. He was quickly snapped up by the Thunder and made his debut just 6 weeks into his rookie season. Similarly to other players on the list, Dort is not the most talented or skillful, but stands out with his brilliant defensive consistency. He made a name for himself, receiving plenty of applause for his brilliant defense on James Harden in the first round of the 2020 playoffs. Since then, his role with the Thunder has grown massively, and he has been a starter all 3 years, alongside SGA. Dort is the perfect backcourt partner for Shai, as he is a helpful scorer and a much bigger contributor on defense who has also developed a three-point shot, also fitting into the Thunder culture brilliantly. The Thunder looked like contenders in the West this season. While much of the plaudits will go to Shai, J-Dub, and Chet Holmgren, Lu Dort is a huge part of this OKC team, and one of the best undrafted players picked up in the last few years. As for Caleb Martin, he was a brilliant player at Nevada during his 2 years with the Wolfpack. Despite being named Mountain West Player of the Year, he was not selected in the 2019 draft, instead being picked up by the Charlotte Hornets, who had selected his brother Cody in the second round. He must have impressed in training camp, as he was brought into the rotation for the Hornets from day one. But his opportunities weren't massive in those first 2 seasons with Charlotte, especially after Buzz City drafted LaMelo Ball, and he was waived at the end of the 2020-21 season. He was then soon signed on a 2-way contract with the Miami Heat, who saw his 2-way upside, seeing Martin grow into one of the Heat's more reliable players. Particularly in the last 12 months, Martin has excelled. His run in the 2023 NBA playoffs was an extraordinary one, including averaging 19 points and 6 rebounds, while shooting 60% from the field in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics. Martin has come a long way since being dropped by the Hornets after quite a slow start to his NBA career. Michigan has produced countless NBA stars, but even if you succeed with the Wolverines, you are not guaranteed a place in the league. Just ask Duncan Robinson, who has had to work his way up through the ranks to become an NBA starter. He was the best three-point shooter in college basketball for a few years, but still went undrafted in 2018, largely due to his lack of defensive impact and one-dimensional game. However, he would eventually sign with the Miami Heat for the Summer League. It was a move that paid off as Robinson got opportunities thanks to the Heat struggling with injuries at the start of the 2018-19 season. His first full season was his sophomore year, where Robinson exploded as one of the most efficient three-point shooters in the league. He averaged an incredible 45% from the three-point line across 68 games as a starter. He followed that up with a similarly impressive three-point shooting season in year 3. Robinson was rewarded in the 2021 offseason with a huge 5-year deal that is the largest contract in NBA history for an undrafted player. Sadly, for Robinson and the Heat, he has struggled slightly more since the contract extension. Having previously been a starter, Robinson comes off the bench a lot more for the Heat. Still known as one of the best three-point shooters in the league, Robinson is a starter-level player. Although he is largely coming off the bench for Miami, he can still become a great starter with longevity in the NBA. there are a select group of players in the league that have very specialist roles and thrive in those particular roles. Dorian Finney-Smith is certainly one of those players, and there is a case that he could be a top 3 and D player in the league. Having declared for the draft at 23 years old, it was never that likely that he would be selected in 2016. But Smith signed for the Dallas Mavericks and became a rotation piece straight away. But it wasn't until he re-signed with the Mavericks in 2019 that Finney-Smith became a starter. And this would see him have a 3-season stretch as a consistent starter for Dallas in a specialist role, suiting his skill set very well. In 2022, Finney-Smith started 80 games for Dallas and put up impressive career-high numbers in points and three-point percentage. Now, with the Brooklyn Nets, he's continued to fit into his role and start in most games he's played in Brooklyn. Although it's unlikely he will ever become an all-star caliber player, but the former Florida Gator has carved out a very impressive career for himself. Much of the success that the Miami Heat have had over recent seasons is built on picking up unloved players and turning them into excellent starters. That's exactly what the Heat did in 2020 when they signed former Bulls guard Max Strus to a contract. Strus played his first 2 seasons of college basketball in Division II before finishing off with DePaul. He would go undrafted in 2019 and did not get many chances in his first couple of seasons, despite impressive numbers in the Summer League. Strus certainly got his opportunity with the Heat. In his second year with Miami, Strus became a rotation piece who could hit three-pointers when needed. His minutes increased even more last season, where Strus averaged a career high in points, rebounds, assists, and minutes. After a difficult 2023 NBA Finals, Strus landed with the Cleveland Cavaliers in the offseason and is looking like a solid starter in the league. Similarly to most undrafted players, Strus doesn't look like the type to put up huge numbers and become an all-star. But to go from playing Division II basketball to earning a 4-year, $63 million contract is so impressive. In his recent fourth quarter burst, maybe one of the most impressive regular season performances of all time. And that's it. What happened to every active undrafted starter in the NBA? Who do you think is the best undrafted player currently in the NBA? Put your thoughts in the comments down below, and while you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching SportSphere, and we will see you next time.